The crystal chandelier in my parents' dining room cast judgmental shadows across the birthday dinner setup. Everything had to be perfect for my father's 60th. Perfect place settings, perfect wine pairings, and of course, perfect children. Well, almost perfect. Olivia, darling. My mother's voice carried that familiar note of disappointment as I walked in. Couldn't you have worn something more appropriate? I glanced down at my simple black blazer and tailored pants. No designer labels, no flashy brands, exactly the image I'd carefully cultivated for the past 5 years while building my empire in secret. It's cleaned and pressed, Mom, I replied, taking my assigned seat, the one furthest from Dad, naturally. My sister Victoria swept in, Hermes bag swinging, followed by her investment banker husband James. Their entrance was perfectly timed, as always, to make my arrival look even more inadequate. Traffic was horrible, Victoria announced, air-kissing Mom's cheek. But we closed the Henderson merger today, Daddy. 7 figures. She shot me a smug look. How's your little tech job, Liv? I smiled, thinking about the email I'd received just hours ago from my CFO. Our latest acquisition had pushed the company's valuation to $4.2 billion. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. Oh, I said vaguely, still coding. My brother Michael arrived last, his surgeon's ego filling the room before he did. Sorry, I'm late. Saving lives. You know how it is. He loosened his Rolex, last year's model, I noticed, and took his place at Dad's right hand. Well, Mom began, nodding to the staff to serve. At least some of our children understand the importance of proper careers. Dad barely looked up from his phone. The Anderson boy, you remember him, Olivia? He's made partner at Goldman already. Such a shame you turned down his proposal. Ah, yes, Bradley Anderson. The man they practically arranged my marriage to, right before I walked away from their carefully planned future for me. He tried to buy into my company last month through his family's investment firm. I turned him down, again. Still working at that startup? Michael asked, cutting into his Wagyu beef. What is it you do again? Customer service? I'm the CEO, actually. Founder of Nova Technologies, the fastest growing AI company in North America. But I just nodded. Something like that. Olivia. Mom sighed, sharing a meaningful look with Victoria. We're just worried about you. Living in that tiny apartment, driving that old car, you had such potential. If they only knew that tiny apartment was actually the penthouse of a building I owned, or that the old car was a deliberate choice to maintain my cover. Speaking of potential, Victoria chimed in, James's firm is always hiring. Entry level, of course, but that's kind of you, I said, checking my phone discreetly. A message from my PR team. Forbes article goes live at 8:00 p.m. I glanced at the ornate clock on the wall. 7:52 p.m. At least consider it. Dad finally looked at me. You're not getting any younger. And that computer hobby of yours. Hobby? Michael laughed. That's generous. More like hiding from real responsibility. 7:55 p.m. I said carefully, speaking of responsibility, how's the hospital's new AI diagnostic system working out, Michael? He frowned. Been a nightmare, actually. Some new tech company software. Nobody can figure out how to make it work properly. I bit back a smile. That would be my company's software. The same system he dismissed as basic coding when I tried to explain it to him last Christmas. 7:58 p.m. Victoria's phone chimed. She never could resist checking her notifications, even at dinner. Her perfectly maintained facade cracked as she stared at the screen. That's impossible," she whispered. "What is it, darling?" Mom asked. Victoria's hands shook as she turned her phone around. The Forbes headline glowed clearly. Novia Technology is CEO Olivier Bnat Join as WRLD's Youngest BILIOAAIEAIST. Net worth $4.2 billion. The silence that fell over the table was absolute. Michael's fork clattered against his plate. James's wine glass froze halfway to his lips. Dad's phone slipped from his fingers. But you work in customer service," Michael stammered. I took a slow sip of water. "Actually, I never said that. You all just assumed." "4 billion," Mom whispered. "0.2, I corrected gently. Though that number's probably outdated now. We closed another acquisition this morning." The next 10 minutes were a masterclass in watching carefully constructed family dynamics crumble. Victoria's perfect posture slumped. Michael's surgical precision gave way to fumbling hands. Mom's social grace evaporated into stunned silence. "Let me understand this," Dad finally spoke, his investment banker instincts kicking in. "Nova Technologies, the AI company that's been all over the financial news. The one revolutionizing medical diagnostics." I nodded toward Michael, who had gone pale. "The same company whose stock your firm tried to get allocation for last month." I smiled at James. "That's mine. I built it." But you live in that small apartment in Brooklyn," Victoria sputtered. "I own the building, actually. And the next 3 buildings on that block." I took another sip of water. "Though technically, they're held by one of my holding companies." James, ever the investment banker, recovered first. "We should discuss investment opportunities. My firm has extensive experience in tech sector wealth management, like the experience you used to call my idea juvenile at the Christmas party 3 years ago," I asked quietly. "Right before you advised your clients to short our stock." He paled. Those shorts had cost his clients millions when our stock tripled after the IPO. "Darling," Mom intervened, her social conditioning reasserting itself. "You should have told us. All this time, struggling alone." "I wasn't struggling, Mom. I was building." "There's a difference." I checked my phone again. 17 missed calls from Bradley Anderson already. Word travels fast in finance circles. "The hospital contract," Michael suddenly blurted. "The AI system. Did you approve it personally?" "Yes. Though I did recuse myself when your name came up in the bidding process. Conflict of interest, you understand." Victoria's phone buzzed again, probably her social circle exploding with the news. She had built her influence on being the successful sister. That narrative was crumbling by the second. "We should celebrate," Dad announced, switching smoothly into proud father mode. "I'll call the club, arrange a proper announcement dinner." "Actually," I cut in, "I have an early meeting tomorrow. We're launching a new neural network that could revolutionize cancer detection." I glanced at Michael. "Your hospital might want to bid on the trial program, assuming you can figure out how to work with basic coding." Mom reached for my hand across the table. "Sweetie, we always knew you were special." "Did you?" I stood slowly. Because I remember being the disappointment. The one who turned down Bradley, who left Goldman Sachs, who played with computers instead of following the family plan. That was different, Victoria protested weakly. We didn't know. Exactly. You didn't know because you never asked. Never looked past the surface. Never thought that maybe, just maybe, the quiet one in the family had something worth building. James cleared his throat. About those shorts, perhaps we could discuss. Your firm's position? Already handled. Check your office email. Our legal team sent over a settlement proposal this afternoon. We've been planning this revelation for a while. The room fell silent again. They were finally seeing it. All the pieces they'd dismissed, all the hints they'd ignored, assembling into a picture they'd never imagined. The Anderson proposal, Dad said slowly. You turned it down because I was worth more than his family's entire portfolio even then. And because he, like everyone in this room, thought success only looked one way. I gathered my things. The simple bag that cost more than James's car. The cheap foam that was actually a prototype from my company's new tech division. Happy birthday, Dad. The gift I had delivered to your office this morning. It's 1,000 shares of Nova Technologies, pre-IPO price. Worth about $30 million now. I smiled. Consider it a return on all those years of disappointment. As I walked to the door, Victoria called out, Liv, wait. Sunday brunch. We always do family brunch. I turned back one last time. Check the business news tomorrow morning. After our neural network announcement, I might be too busy managing my new net worth. It's expected to double. The last thing I saw as I left was Mom reaching for her phone, probably to call her society friends. Finally, she had something to brag about. Too bad it wasn't the story she'd spent years trying to write. The week following Dad's birthday dinner was a study in chaos theory. How one revelation could completely upend an established system. My phone logged over 200 missed calls from family members and their associates. Each one more desperate than the last to establish their new position in my life. I sat in my real office. Not the modest workspace they'd imagined, but the entire top floor of a gleaming Manhattan skyscraper, reviewing the aftermath. Your brother's hospital has submitted an expedited bid for the neural network trials, my assistant Emma reported, scrolling through updates. And your sister's PR firm has sent 3 partnership proposals. And Bradley Anderson? I asked, though I already knew. 6 meeting requests and a marriage proposal via email. Emma smiled. He emphasized his family's strategic alignment with your vision. I turned to the wall of windows overlooking the city. Somewhere down there, my family was still trying to process how their disappointing daughter had outearned their combined net worth several hundred times over. My phone buzzed. Mom, again. Darling, the Wellington Charity Gala is next week. As a major philanthropist, you simply must attend. I've already told everyone you'll be there. I ended the call mid-sentence. The Wellington Gala, where they'd seated me at the young singles table last year, far from the important donors. Emma, what's the status of our children's hospital initiative? She pulled up the details. Ready to announce. $2 billion in funding, state-of-the-art AI diagnostic equipment for pediatric care units across the country. Schedule the announcement for next Thursday, the same night as the Wellington Gala. Exactly. Just then, my sister Victoria burst through the office doors, designer handbag swinging wildly. Her face fell as she took in the space. The minimalist luxury, the quiet power, so different from her showy workplace. You can't just ignore everyone's calls, she exclaimed. Do you know what this is doing to the family? I gestured for her to sit. You mean what it's doing to the family's narrative? She sank into a chair, deflating slightly. Mom's a mess. Dad's trying to tell everyone he guided your investment strategy. Michael's hospital board is furious. He didn't know about the connection. And James? She paused. Lost his year-end bonus over those shorts? I finished. Actions have consequences, Vic. Something our family never quite grasped. Why didn't you tell us? She whispered. Would it have mattered? When I tried to explain AI architecture at Christmas, you all talked over me about Michael's new yacht. We didn't understand. You can try to understand, I corrected. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time, probably with more investment advice I didn't need. The neural network announcement next week, Victoria said carefully. James's firm would love to handle the PR. Already handled. By the same team you said was wasting their time with my little startup last year. She flinched. But, I continued, there might be something else. She leaned forward eagerly. The Children's Hospital Initiative needs community liaisons. Real work, Vic. No shortcuts. No family favors. Interested? She blinked, processing the offer. You trust me with that? After everything? I'm offering you a chance to earn trust. Different thing. After she left, Emma brought in the latest market reports. Nova Technologies stock had jumped another 15% on rumors of the neural network breakthrough. Your father's shares are worth $40 million now, she noted. Good. Maybe he'll finally stop telling people he funded my startup. The next few weeks brought more family attempts at reconciliation. Mom tried hosting a casual dinner with all her society friends. Michael suddenly discovered a passion for AI technology. Dad sent detailed investment strategies I'd already considered and dismissed years ago. But something else happened too. Victoria threw herself into the Children's Hospital project, showing real talent for community organization. Michael's hospital became a leading test site for our medical AI, with him actually reading the technical manuals. Mom still tried to set me up with eligible bachelors, but now she at least asked about my work first. 3 months after the Forbes article, I stood on stage accepting the Technology Innovation of the Year award. In the audience, I spotted my family, not in their usual front row seats, but quietly supporting from the middle rows. They'd finally learned that true success doesn't always need to be center stage. Innovation, I said in my acceptance speech, comes from seeing what others dismiss, from believing in possibilities others ignore, and sometimes from being underestimated by exactly the right people at exactly the right time. Later that night, alone in my office, I opened an old email, the one where Dad had detailed all the reasons my AI company would fail. I kept it as a reminder not of their doubt, but of why I succeeded, because sometimes the greatest motivation comes from proving yourself right when everyone else was convinced you were wrong. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Grandma, the only one who'd ever really listened. They see you now, dear, but you saw yourself all along. That's what really matters. And she was right, because success isn't about making others see your worth. It's about never letting their blindness define your vision. The next morning, as New York City woke up, I was already in my office, working on our next breakthrough. Because $4.2 billion wasn't the end of my story, it was just the first chapter they happened to notice. Sometimes the biggest disappointments turn out to be the greatest successes. You just have to be patient enough to let them see it for themselves.